Move the Indian sweater, please. Collins, get up off your ass.
Are you going to...
Why don't you do it from the audio board?
John? Aren't you going to...
Want to sit here?
Wait. Pardon?
That wouldn't be bad. A little bit more technical, Jack. You sit here like this.
Do that? No.
No, I'd get right off.
I can't get down. He did. And he's not a heavy drinker, your old man. He only drinks by accident.
Any chance of you bringing that slide on?
Mom's away.
Oh.
What are you going to do here, Jack? Hey? There's no intro to any VTRs there or anything like that?
There's a picture coming up.
Tell Pettit just to stop speaking, will you? Tell Pettit to be quiet.
Either sit there or move it out of the way.
Stand back. Have a good show, everyone. 30. Canucks lead the floor. Hey, the leaves are really falling now, aren't they? Look at them, look. Ricky, there's a little bit of heat.
Good morning. Sometimes people must wonder why I don't do any happy stories. Well, in my function as a reporter, happy stories are hard to come by. And one of my other functions as a reporter is to keep an eye on bodies which have powers of their own to investigate and, if necessary, discipline their professional members. Now, by and large, I suppose, one watches mostly in my business the legal profession, the medical profession, the dental profession, because so many of their investigations are not done publicly. And because, and this applies to each of these professions, many times members of the public who thought they had a legitimate complaint walk away slightly baffled, and they feel somewhat less than fully served. This morning's story is an exceedingly sad and in many ways a disquieting story. Anything which involves a death, of course, is a sad story. Today I'm going to give you one side of a story. The other sides will come later, involving this woman, Mrs. Alexandra Buchanan. Here you see her just a few years back. An attractive, competent, I am assured, mentally sound woman with a happy family circumstances, even though her husband was killed way back in Ortona in 1943 in a famous Canadian battle. The story of Alexandra Buchanan comes to me from the family. And simply put, that little less than 3 years ago, she was an attractive, happy woman by all accounts. She then began to take dental treatment, which extended for almost month after month after month. On October the 29th, she took her own life. And I have asked the College of Dental Surgeons to watch this program this morning and to give me, if they wish, any response they have to this story, buttressed by considerable body of fact and opinion, when they are ready. And I can also tell you that the coroner's office is making a preliminary inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the death of Mrs. Alexandra Buchanan of Vancouver at the time of her death, aged 64. The report after this break. Circumstances. I'm going to present to you today a very sad set of circumstances which I think right now deserve the closest scrutiny and examination by the College of Dental Surgeons and by the Office of the Coroner in British Columbia. On a prima facie look at the people you're going to meet and the documents you will hear about, you will wonder what really happened to cause the death of a 64-year-old woman called Alexandra Buchanan, who took her life with pills supplied on prescription drugs after a nightmare experience over the previous 2.5 years involving dental treatment. During those 2.5 years, this formerly totally competent woman was in the hands of at least 6 or 7 dentists, oral surgeons, psychiatrists, virtually spent her life savings for treatment for her mouth, dentures, caps, and partials, at least $12,000 which can be traced. And she left a note. Many people have trouble with their teeth. The note she left when she died said, and I don't present this as a matter of gruesome interest, addressed to her son and her daughter-in-law, "Life is becoming increasingly hard to cope with and no end in sight. My front teeth are slanted out beyond my upper gum line, and the molars and bicuspids do likewise. I have a hard time talking, eating, and sleeping. I'm told the dentists cannot do anything for me now. It's taken me 3 years to figure it all out." She goes on to talk about the constant pain, and she finishes up this dreadful note saying, "I'm only 64 and I feel 90. I'm pacing the floor trying to tire myself out some more. I'm hot and cold alternately and completely insane. I'm trying to get courage to take these pills." Why, therefore, you might say of Webster, would you go public with a story about a woman who spent $12,000 or more on dental treatment, was obviously emotionally disturbed, and you might say would have taken her life in any case? One, because there is a body of facts to which I'm going to put you right now. And two, because the College of Dental Surgeons up to this time, though they have been asked, have not, as seems to happen on too many an occasion, given any proper examination or real response to the people involved about what happened. Now, who was Alexandra Buchanan? I have in the studio with me her son, Jack, and his wife, Monika. And also in the studio with me, I have another daughter, Gail Brunetti, who lives, where is it, Gail?
Carson City, Nevada.
Carson City, Nevada. I want you to go back to, where did your mother work before she stopped working?
She worked at the Hudson's Bay Company in the ladies' shoe department.
For how long?
For many years, I think about 20 years.
Now, was there anything wrong with her teeth that was noticeable or awkward when she went to, and I'm not using dentist names, but I want to jab the college into doing a proper investigation. When she went to the first dentist, number one, we'll call him.
She had trouble with her false teeth and that, which I understand with people getting a little bit older, they have to have their plates and whatnot, their gums recede a bit, and they have to have them adjusted.
Now, at that time, that dentist looked at them and said, yes, you need so-and-so, you need caps, you need partial, new upper dentures, and it'll cost you $3,700.
Yes, well, he said that your your lower front teeth are a little discolored, and he recommended that she have caps that will improve her appearance. And she thought this might be a good idea, so she...
Presumably she could afford the $3,700. Eh?
Yes, even though it would have been a hardship, she could.
At that particular time. But I forgot to ask you something, Gail. Give me a picture of your mother's character and behavior before she went to dentist number one, and it was around about March 1977.
Yes. My mother was a vital, dynamic woman. She raised my brother and I all by herself. She worked very, very hard for everything she had.
Your father was killed in Ortona on Christmas 1943. 43.
And she was faced with raising 2 children, and she also had a dependent mother that she took care of. She made a beautiful home for us. She made all of my clothes and all of my brother's clothes. She made a lovely life for us.
Did she have any outside activities after she brought the children up? I mean, was she a happy woman?
Yes, she was. She had wonderful friends. She enjoyed her garden. She took great pride in her gardening, and she had good friends. She enjoyed going to the theater. She enjoyed life.
Had she ever had psychiatric treatment before she saw this
Never,
dentist?
never.
At that time? Never?
Never in her life.
She'd never really had any trouble with her health either?
None.
Monica, you knew your mother-in-law well, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
After she got the first, we've got her documents and we have her diaries, which are painful to read. But how did the first lot of treatment go? Can you remember that in March 77 when she got her new uppers and caps and partials?
Well, the work went quite well until she came home with her new set of teeth, which were far too large.
What did they look like?
Well, tell you the truth, she looked a bit like a bulldog. They were so large she couldn't close her mouth, and the bottom teeth were really slanted out.
And she said in her final note.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Somebody said they looked like horse teeth at
Yes,
one time
they
or
did.
another.
They
But
did.
she was at so many dentists in the successive months and years that I don't know whose teeth it was that looked like horse teeth. Do you? Her teeth, but who? We don't know which one made them, do we?
Yes.
The
Yes.
first
The
dentist.
first dentist.
The first dentist. Okay. She told the dentist that these teeth were killing her, didn't she?
It
Yes.
was another dentist that made the first statement that they looked like horse teeth.
I see. Anyway, after she saw dentist number one, he went off to Europe and she was left distraught, was she not?
Yes.
Then she went to a dentist for whom I don't think you have any receipts, who made her a new set of dentures.
She did go back to the first dentist after he returned from his holidays, and he kept making adjustments. And I called him and I said, my mother-in-law needs help. Those teeth are too big. And he said, that'll be fine. Bring her in and we shall make her more comfortable. That's what he kept saying all along.
Did he ever make her more comfortable?
No, he did not.
Did her personality begin to change?
Well, I mean, she sort of lost interest in things. You know, she didn't want to see people because my mother-in-law was always very vain about her appearance.
Good-looking woman.
Yes, a very good-looking woman. And she just did not want to see anybody.
Well, I know that shortly after that, she went to a dentist that made her a new set of dentures which didn't fit. And she went back to dentist number one, and he tried to adjust the first ones.
Yes.
Right. Then she got in the hands of the second principal dentist. How did she get in his hands?
I'm not sure.
Who
Gail,
referred her
do
to
you
that
recall?
dentist?
To the second dentist who
Yes.
made her the entire.
Yes.
Well, prior to seeing him, she called the University of British Columbia, and they recommended a dentist. She went to see this dentist, and then he recommended her to the third dentist, who redid her whole mouth.
What do you mean redid her whole mouth?
He took out everything that the first dentist did.
The caps?
The caps, he made her new uppers and new partials.
What did that cost?
That was approximately another $3,600.
And were they any better?
My mother didn't feel that they were any better. She was still in pain. But even prior to having this treatment, after seeing the first dentist and at the point of the second dentist, They took x-rays and found that she had 2 impacted wisdom teeth and a leftover rotten root, which the oral surgeons had to remove.
Oh, there's an oral surgeon in there taking out the rotten root and the impacted wisdom teeth.
Yes.
Did anyone tell you if that would have affected the first work done by the first dentist?
They said that this may have been part of the problem that was causing her pain.
Now, was she in continued pain?
After
Hey, Jack, let me ask you.
She was in continued pain. She couldn't eat properly, talk properly, and her condition was deteriorating.
And she was eating
weekly and
blended
monthly.
yogurt.
She couldn't eat solids. And
Now, when did the psychiatrist come into the picture? 3 times your mother saw a psychiatrist. One psychiatrist, then she saw a psychiatrist at the General, and then she saw a psychiatrist at UBC. Now, I just want you to give me, from between among the 3 of you, the assessments you got from the separate psychiatrists about her condition.
When she went to, she was in very bad condition, and we took my mother to the General Hospital, and she was admitted to the psychiatric ward. A doctor and a psychiatrist looked at her, and she was evaluated. I'm not sure the exact stay that she was in there. It was 3 or 4 days, and they evaluated her as mentally fit, but it was just that she was in chronic pain and needed dental work.
She was competent.
She was competent.
Now, that was the General Hospital. There were 2 other psychiatrists involved. Who can tell me about them?
There was a psychiatrist before the General Hospital.
That's the one I want.
And the second dentist recommended that she must see a psychiatrist before the 3rd dentist took over. So she submitted to this, and this first psychiatrist said that she was competent, but she was depressed because of pain, and that it was indeed a dental problem.
Did you speak to that psychiatrist yourself?
No, I spoke to the psychiatrist at the Vancouver General Hospital, and he told me that she was depressed and that it was quite common to be depressed if you suffer from chronic pain. And he told me that he could not keep her there because she was competent.
Now, there was a 3rd time she saw a psychiatrist at the UBC unit. Is that correct?
Yes. This was when she was working with the 3rd dentist who had redone her whole mouth. He finally said that he would not treat her anymore unless she was evaluated by a psychiatric unit. So she willingly went to the University of British Columbia and was evaluated by them. And from what I understand, they felt that she was highly intelligent but depressed because she was suffering from chronic pain.
By this time, she'd been suffering from chronic pain, had she not, Monica, from the 2 different sets of total teeth work, plus the oral surgeon, for must have been well into a year.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, she wasn't finished with dentists yet. She was referred to a prominent dentist in Vancouver after she had the 2 full sets of work done, as I understand, and he recommended new dentures.
Yes.
Is that
I
correct?
think that's correct, yes.
That's what seems to say in her particular
Diary.
in her particular diary. Now, at what stage did you first complain to the College of Dental Surgeons? Was she the first one to complain to the College of Dental Surgeons?
Yes, I think she was. Yes.
And I think if I look at my notes here, I'll find that she went to the college. In the middle of 1977, she phoned the college, and you never heard of any satisfactory explanations beyond
No.
that one.
No.
Now, you wrote a complaint, Monica, you wrote a complaint at the college in April of 1978.
April 23rd, 1978.
What was your basic,
My wife wrote the complaint.
and what was the basic problem you were telling them about?
Well, I was telling them that my mother-in-law was had been fitted with these ill-fitting teeth, and that I asked for an investigation because she was getting more and more depressed, and there didn't seem to be anybody who could help her.
At that time, you were particularly concerned about the work done by an oral surgeon as well as by the dentist.
Yes.
Now, did you get an answer to that letter?
Yes, I did. About 3 months later, I was told that my letter had been lost, misfiled, and that they would look into it. That they would.
Depending upon, I apologize for the delay in responding to this letter 3 months later, as it was misfiled and only recently surfaced.
That's
That would
right.
make you happy,
Yes,
wouldn't it?
yes.
Here you worried to death about your mother, and they lose your complaint. And depending on so-and-so's reply, one of the dentists, I may order an investigations committee to examine your mother-in-law. Was she ever examined, as they say here, by an investigations committee?
No, she was not.
She never was?
No.
Now, when did you take your mother to Nevada?
Well, a year ago in October, I came up because I felt that my mother was really deteriorating. And I took one look at her, and I felt that she couldn't go on any longer.
How much had she changed?
I didn't recognize her.
How long had it been since you'd seen her?
A year,
A year.
yes.
You hadn't seen her before she got her new teeth.
No.
So you'd seen her with her old teeth, and then you saw her after a year's dental treatment.
Well, I saw her immediately after the first dentist. Then I went home, and I understood she was getting help, and then I saw her after the second dentist, or the third dentist.
And you came up to see her. How much had she changed?
Her character, her personality had been drastically altered. She was not the same wonderful mother that I
Did you have
remember.
any outside worries or complications that you knew of?
No, only
Well-
her dental work.
This was the one problem.
The one problem.
And at that time, she'd gone through one $4,000 bill, a second $4,000 bill, and God knows what odds and ends with
Odds
various
and ends
dentists.
and prescriptions
Being
and pills. They were
consulted.
pushing pills like crazy.
The doctors were,
Doctors and dentists
and psychiatrists.
and psychiatrists.
Now, you took her to the College of Dental Surgeons.
Yes, I did.
Tell me what happened.
I tried to go through my mother's period of,
You saw a senior official of the college.
yes, I did. And I tried to talk to him about my mother's problems. And he advised me that she had had very competent help, and that these were fine dentists that were working on her. And I had a feeling that I wasn't going to be helped. My mother was sitting beside me. She was a little lump, just sitting there looking down at the floor. And he talked to me as though she wasn't even sitting there, as though she didn't even exist. And I felt that I wasn't going to be helped by this man. And it was at that point I decided I had to take her home with me. I thought she can't go on by herself.
Did they admit or concede that her mouth was a mess?
No.
Did they tell you that they thought she was emotionally disturbed and it was
Yes.
all in her mind?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the dentist that she was being treated by at that time told me that she was perhaps enjoying the pain, and perhaps she wished this to continue.
Was it the dentist or an official of the college who told you that?
The dentist told me that, and I think that the official of the college may have inferred the same thing, but I can't remember directly.
You
But I
felt
remember
you were there
the
with a legitimate case. Did you feel you'd been brushed off? I don't want to put words in your mouth. If you weren't brushed off, tell me so.
Yes, I certainly felt as though I had been brushed off.
You then took your mother to Nevada.
I then took my mother to Nevada.
The next chapter in this sad story, the woman was buried just the other day, with many of her friends from the bay there, will come after this break. I'm presenting this story because the people who came to me with it seem to be decent, straightforward, honest people whose mother died in tragic circumstances after 2.5 years of expensive dentistry. And I have here Jack Buchanan and his wife Monika. They live in Vancouver. And that's Jack is Mrs. Alexander Buchanan's son. And I also have Gail Brunetti, who lives in Nevada, the daughter. Why did you take your mother to Nevada?
Because I felt that perhaps maybe she could get help in Vancouver, but I knew that she couldn't do it by herself. She lives alone. And my brother and my sister-in-law had been tortured by this. They had been helping her all they could, and I felt it was my turn to help her. I knew she had to be
Nevada.
with somebody.
You went to a dentist in Nevada whom you trusted.
Yes.
What did he say and do?
He said that she appeared to have good technical work done in her mouth, but that it didn't fit her mouth. and that indeed there could be pain. And when I look at the bills, I see that he had given her emergency treatment and some root canal work immediately. And he felt very sorry for her, and he wanted to help her, and he again redid her whole mouth.
The whole thing?
He took out all the crowns, made new partials and new uppers.
And that cost?
$3,200.
Now, did the pain then disappear?
The pain, she seemed to be in no pain, but I could tell she was still emotionally upset.
It was almost too good to be true for her to realize. Did her teeth look any better then?
Yes, her teeth did look better then, but she wasn't happy with the way they looked, but she said these are better than anybody else's.
And then a very sad thing happened when you came back to Vancouver, did it not? Can you tell me about that, Jack or Monica? She went to yet another dentist. Is that so?
Yes, my mother-in-law, she was home for about 3 or 4 weeks, and suddenly one day she said, I am going to see a dental mechanic because these uppers don't fit properly. So that's what she did. The dental mechanic fitted her with new uppers, but they still did not feel right. And my mother-in-law started to deteriorate from there on.
She was attending the doctor at the same time?
Yes, she was now
still,
seeing the family physician.
and she was still living on her own?
Yes, she was.
And then she went to see another dentist after
Yes.
the dental mechanic, and then another dentist.
And tell me what happened there. I hate to ask you, but if I've got my chronology correct, something else happened. Meanwhile, this is a woman who by this time may well have been emotionally disturbed. And if a tenth of the story is correct, you can understand why. And I think I should draw to my own attention that when you go to a qualified medical or dental person, they're the trustee for your care because of their qualifications. So that even if you are emotionally disturbed, steps must be taken to protect you from yourself. And I don't think anybody could argue with that.
No.
What did this final dentist, and I think he was the final one.
Yes, we're now talking about the final dentist, was a very compassionate man, and he wanted to help my mother. She begged and pleaded with him to take out those crowns. By this time she had in her mind that these crowns were too large. And she said, the crowns that I had put in Nevada are in temporarily. And would you please just take them out and see if you can make them even smaller?
And you did something when you landed
I
this.
heard of this, and I was very frightened because I felt that they were in permanently. So I called my dentist and I said, would you please call the dentist in Vancouver and tell him that those crowns are in permanently, and tell him what he's getting into, tell him my mother's history. He said, I will do so. He contacted this final dentist and explained to him that my mother's crowns were in permanently and they shouldn't not under any circumstances be taken out. And he apparently felt so sorry for her because she was so emotional. He said, well, I'm going to try and help her. And he said, what I'll do is I'll take out those crowns, even though they're permanent. I'll put some temporary plastic ones in and see if I can get it right. And then if she's comfortable with them, I'll put in permanent ones, and I'll save these permanent crowns for her, and I'll give them back to her, et cetera, et cetera. Well,
in other words, he was trying to console her, and you think he was acting genuinely in your mother's interest.
I do think he was.
How long ago would that be?
Well, if I just may interject here, Mr. Webster, when my mother-in-law went to see the last dentist, he sent her to another one for consultation. And this other dentist, he said this was really out of his
Field?
And he referred her to one dentist my mother-in-law had seen prior, who had given her a whole new set of teeth. And when she heard that, she was very upset, and she went back to the dentist who had referred her to this other one, and she pleaded with him. At this point, I talked to the dentist because I thought she was very vulnerable, and I asked him straight out whether or not he was after the money, and he assured me he was not. He said, I'm not making any promises, but I feel sorry for your mother-in-law. She has nowhere to go, and she wants these crowns out very badly. And that's when he
did it.
And then
proceeded,
when he took them out, or when he put the plastic teeth in, my mother was unhappy with those, and apparently she ripped some of those out, and he said at that point, I won't see your mother-in-law unless she goes to a psychiatrist.
Then that was when she went to which psychiatrist? The third one.
After he had taken all her crowns out, my mother-in-law demanded that he take all her bottom teeth out. She still had some teeth on her own teeth left. And that's when he said she was most unreasonable. He could not work with her unless she saw a psychiatrist first.
And the psychiatrist on that occasion said what?
First, she went to her family doctor, who tried to get her into a psychiatric ward. The waiting list was so long, she felt that she should go to a private psychiatrist. The dentist had recommended a private psychiatrist. She went to that private psychiatrist. She went to him twice. He started asking questions about her sex life. She said, what has that got to do with my teeth? I've had enough of this. And she walked out. At that time, her family's physician said he had knocked her off the list to get into the psychiatric ward at St. Vincent's because he felt she was in the care of a private psychiatrist. In the meantime, he was prescribing Seconal to her. She had prescribed 20 Seconal. My sister-in-law had doled them out one by one to her. And at the very end, when he couldn't get her into the psychiatric ward, he prescribed he knew her condition. He had been to her house and seen her, talked to her. And he prescribed another 20 Seconal, which were delivered to her. And then you've read the diary of her last few days. She was trying to find the courage to take them.
And these were the pills.
These were the pills she took.
So at any given time, she was getting painkillers from dentists, pills from the family doctor, and pills from psychiatrists. It's a very sad story indeed. And another thing that impressed me about you people was that when you came to me, you said you don't want to sue anybody, you don't want to collect damages from anybody. What is it you want to do?
I don't want any person to go through this. I don't want any other family to go through what we've gone through for the last 2.5 years.
Monica, how do you feel about it? Is that what you feel?
I feel the same, Mr. Webster, yes, because it has really been hell for us and for my mother-in-law. She was just a vegetable at the end.
In 2 years?
Yes.
Is there any doubt in your mind that it began with what your mother told you, the continual prolonged pain and roaring in the ears from teeth that didn't fit? Any doubt in your mind?
No, there's not.
How about you, Jack? You're Alexandra's son.
There's no doubt in my mind that the teeth at the very beginning started the whole thing going.
Had your mother put up with her old teeth, would she still be alive today?
Yes.
I'm quite sure she would.
Yeah?
I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure she would be her wonderful self.
You're not awkward people. You're not obnoxious people. But you haven't... The College of Dental Surgeons was approached by your mother, was written to by you, and was seen by you.
And Alexandra's brother also wrote to them.
Nobody ever
No.
received anything other than the pat reply that all the dentists were fine and your mother was emotionally disturbed.
Exactly.
Which she may well have been by this time.
Of course she was emotionally disturbed.
Well, we'll see what the College of Dental Surgeons has to say, and we'll see what other developments may come of this particular case. I thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is tricky.
Yeah.
You keep breaking that open again, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Have I got the right chair this morning? Is that
Yes, yes, it's the right chair. We're going to have a Webster breakfast. It's going to do the program. It's Hardy Mountain, 500 people there.
I recorded that program at the end of last week for use today. The Buchanan case, the case of Alexander Buchanan, of course, is a very ticklish situation. And let me make it perfectly plain that I am not in any way, shape or form assessing any blame on any dentist or any doctor, even though I haven't used their names. Each and every attempt or each and every treatment of Alexander Buchanan may well have been done fully competently from a clinical viewpoint, but one cannot ignore the feelings and the opinions of the family that something went wrong. When you have one set in at great cost, one set out, another set out, another set in, the protestations of the woman later on, the dental mechanic comes into the picture. After that, another dentist. I almost lost count of the number of dentists and doctors involved. But there's a very disturbing matter of how the family feels they were treated by the College of Dental Surgeons. The approach by the woman herself, of which we know virtually nothing. The call to the office by the daughter Gail Brunetti, and the interview with the senior official. The other written complaint, two other written complaints, one of which I have seen, and the answer which admitted that the whole thing was misfiled and lost for several months. Now, as I said on the program, qualified professional people and qualified professional bodies, supported by statutes, are in fact, and certainly in effect, in fact as well, the caretakers of that patient. And when a woman has spent thousands upon thousands of dollars, the family can count up to about $12,000. Think there may have been other bills, other appointments for which they can't trace the particular money. And their testimony, very straightforward, is that it was the effect of the continual round of dentists and pain and visits to psychiatrists which eventually led to the death of the woman. Surely is a matter for an investigation by the college, which may or may not at the moment be in a position to speak to me, to respond to the program. And they are, of course, of course they're welcome. The time is here for them if they wish to tackle that specific problem or the general problem of what happens when perhaps a person does get some kind of emotional fixation that there has been something wrong with the treatment. We have, of course, and I certainly don't disbelieve the family, the description by one dentist of another dentist's teeth, installed teeth, as horse teeth. And on the face of it, Mrs. Buchanan was a happy, attractive woman at the time she started the treatment. And you know the sad end to the sad story. The matter has been drawn to the attention of the coroner's office in Vancouver, and they presumably will investigate the circumstances and decide, and of course the family will have a major say in this, whether or not there will be an inquiry, or for that matter, a public inquest to ascertain if the family's interpretation is correct, or if the College of Dental Surgeons, and this would be an ancillary matter to the cause of the death, but is often done by coroner's inquiry, did in fact handle the whole situation in the proper and correct manner. Now, what am I going to do this morning? In view of the fact that it's a kind of semi-holiday and still close to Remembrance Day, I've got some letters I'm going to show you this morning. I'm going to say my piece on a couple of other things, and we're going to have a free-for-all, which I rather like to do on holiday or near holiday Mondays, after this break. When can I do the bloody letters?
How many's he got done now?
Somebody answer. Hey!
We'll let you know during the next. He's working his butt off the next second.
Since the end of October, we're giving you some rather, said he, immodestly good programs, but a little note on my reporter Brian Coxford's story about the Birdman of Alcatraz. Remember Frank Swasser? The habitual criminal who spent all those years in jail, and we went over to film him on his way out on his last day, and we did the film, and then we learned that when he got to Victoria, he'd had a massive heart attack and later on he died. Schlosser was the Birdman of William Head. We got a telephone call last night telling us, I haven't checked it out, but it's probably true, that 2 days after Frank died, the birds disappeared from William Head. The funniest thing. I'm glad to tell you that if you saw the beginning of the story we did on the woman who wanted help from the Vancouver City Police on a persistent potential rapist down at her apartment door, that the police promptly changed their policy. She had been told, "Well, sorry, ma'am, we can't come and help you at 6 in the morning and we're in the middle of a change of shift." They phoned her up while the guy was still battering at the downstairs door and pestering her. They changed their policy. And the patrol divisions are told at 6 o'clock if there are any calls left over from the other shift that can't be handled. We gave you the Lougheed speech in great detail, which I'm glad we did, to express the very situation which is coming up at the Premier's conference today. That was when Lougheed said, "We'll discuss prices with you, but we won't negotiate," talking about oil prices for the rest of the country. And of course, we gave you a couple of sharp shots on taking the art gallery to court. And for those art gallery, those anti-art gallery people who might be listening this morning, I was exceedingly interested by the fact that after I'd done my program against the art gallery going to the old courthouse, that when the art gallery people did come in, they had trimmed their budget from 16.1 million to 14.1 million. And they gave us some major assurances that the architect would be kept under total control by the fact that the construction people, Turnbull and Gail, will have the last say on what money can be spent to keep the alterations, if it goes ahead, within the contract prices. Because as you may recall, or if you didn't see the program you won't know, the art gallery people conceded they do not yet have the matter anything like fully financed to take the art gallery to court. I'm not a spoil sport, I'm just in search of facts, and I don't want to see the old art gallery ripped to pieces. I'll give you my annual nag about the Wendy King trial. Little Waddle of the NDP did ask a question in the House of Commons, and it's something to get a lawyer asking a question in the House of Commons critical of the justice system at all, why the books of evidence had been sealed in the King case. My humble opinion, repeated again, is that there is in fact no proper authority to seal those books, and that the public, if justice does not see justice being done, is entitled to draw its own unhappy conclusions. And the unhappy conclusion might be that there's one law for the rich and the prominent and one law for the poor. And had these books contained the names of working class people in a working class district, the books would have been open for public inspection. But because they involved, it would seem, a former Chief Justice of the Court of Appeal of British Columbia, and who knows who else, they were sealed improperly, in my view. I hate this dirty tricks caper. I just hate it. We all know there were dirty tricks. We all know that Bill Bennett's government has handled it most ineptly. Let the thing simmer, boil, and trouble in a most dreadfully incompetent manner. I thought they'd learned a lesson. They didn't learn their lesson. I hate to give Bob Gardner, the lawyer, free publicity, but he's dead on. You know what happened on Friday. On Friday, Tozer in the Premier's office phones Ellen King, the girl that won't quit. She's now been forgiven, and asks her to meet the Mounties in the Premier's office. That's what I got out of it. How naive can you be? The RCMP are doing an investigation. They should do that investigation without ever going near the office of the Premier of British Columbia, save and except to interview people in that office who may be implicated. And while I accept Bill Bennett's, again, naive reassurances that there was no intent to lean on anybody, no intent to interfere with the investigation into the Dirty Tricks case, there was in fact interference. Naive interference. Nothing to stop the RCMP going straight to the people involved, phoning them at home or going to see them in their office place and saying, "We would like to talk with you in reference to such and such." Should not and should never have been done through the Premier's office, because on the face of it, it's an interference with the administration of justice. On the face of it. There wasn't any interference, I don't suppose. But if I'm going to be one of the people connected with the government to be questioned by the RCMP I don't want the initial call to come from an official of the Premier's office. And I'll think, what's the Premier doing in cahoots with the RCMP in this investigation? Seems he won't learn his lesson. Well, he might be taught his lesson one day. Naivety can only go so far. Ineptitude is only acceptable until voting time. Next. What's next? Free for all with Webster.
Right. 30 seconds.
Been to the...
50 seconds.
How long have you known this woman? To talk about manipulating media, which of course is the basic allegation in dirty tricks, I want to refer you to Law Society of British Columbia, who are involved in some honest manipulation of the media. This is about all this kerfuffle over fee advertising, you know, Jabur and James and... What was the name of the guy who used to lead the Conservative Party in this province? What was his name? Somebody tell me on the set. The name of the guy who was leader of the Conservative Party, Stevens. Anyway, in the bulletin of October 9, the Law Society said, the benchers feel it's important that their position on fee advertising and reasons for taking that position should be made public more effectively than in the past. When have the lawyers ever done anything effectively in the past, as far as their image was concerned? It goes on to say, the Treasurer will immediately seek appearances on hotline shows and express the Society's position in interviews with the news media. In addition, an article will be prepared for page 4 of the Vancouver Sun. I wonder if the Vancouver Sun has meekly agreed to print it, or if they're going to buy an ad for their article on page 4. I would remind the Law Society of British Columbia that when I sought any official of the Law Society to give me the position publicly on the disappearance from the scene of that very important judge, not one single official pastor present would appear in public to give us their view on what the public should know or should not know. Very keen to give us a position on fee advertising. Won't talk about important issues. Back of my hand to the Law Society and to the benchers of British Columbia. Now, where am I going? Can't see. Go ahead, please.
On, Jack?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was just talking with my big family who've been in Vancouver for years yesterday, and the same item came up, which comes up so often, friends, that we go to stores here in Vancouver, and one, especially in the food items and household items, and one product, you know, will be $1, and in the same town here, another product will be $1.80. And I just wonder, is there no control on these kind of...
No. No control whatsoever.
Terrible.
It's a question of where you shop. Prices are an abomination. I've been shopping recently, and it's fearsome. I bought a little chicken the other day, and I, you know, already barbecued, I must admit. $6. $6.
Yeah.
Chicken must have cost 50 cents.
Yeah. Feel like
No.
it's being played with.
What else did I buy? I'm not going to tell you what I bought, but I was shocked by the price. Go ahead, please. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a dental problem that you brought on about.
I don't want the details of your problem. Have you found it necessary to complain to the College of Dental Surgeons?
No.
Well, that's where to go.
The only thing I wanted to know, I have no complaints of work. What I want to know is how can one get dentures at less than about $2,000 or $3,000?
Phone the College of Dental Surgeons. They used to have a standard... I don't recommend dental mechanics, I must say that. And I know something about dentures.
I am 64, same as the lady.
You phone the College of Dental Surgeons or the Vancouver Dental Association if you're in Vancouver, and they used to have a standard price deal for dentures, and I'm sure they still have it. Abbotsford, go ahead, please.
I can believe about the lady that has trouble with her teeth. As my husband and I just got a set of teeth, and no,
Sounds like they don't fit very well.
either one of us can wear them. And
Have you given the dentist a chance to fit them properly?
well, we went when we get the fitting the first time. He he put them in my mouth, and I said, well, you know, these teeth are not...
Ma'am, did you pay for the teeth?
Yeah, they're all paid for.
Are they in your pocket or in your mouth?
No, they're in the bathroom. We can't wear them.
Get back to the dentist and,
There's nothing he'll do.
well, complain to the College of Dental Surgeons. If your teeth don't fit you, unless they've told you they can't fit you with teeth, it's up to them to make them fit.
Well, they have this modern idea now that they put all the ripples in the roof.
Don't give me the details, ma'am. I know all about teeth. If a dentist has given you teeth that don't fit and you can't wear them and you are a reasonable person and you have paid your bill, complain to the College of Dental Surgeons. Hate to be brutal, but I don't want details of people's teeth. Go ahead, please.
Yes, this is something you might be interested in. It's concerning Insurance Corporation of BC. My husband went down to, he bought a new vehicle and he went down to exchange the plates on the vehicle.
Yep.
And the amount that was owing from the new vehicle was $4 less than from the previous one. He was informed that the insurance corporation would not refund money less than $5.
Oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah,
And they kept the $4.
and they kept the $4.
Are you sure?
Positive.
You telling me the truth?
Yes, I am. This just happened.
They won't give you anything less than $5 in the way of a refund?
Anything under $5, the insurance corporation will not refund.
Do they give you a credit
No.
for the next time round?
Going to make a check out for $4 less than what he owed them, and they said they wouldn't accept it.
All right, there's a very highly paid public relations man in ICBC who should be handling this, and if you'll handle it with him and let me know the result. Bev Penhall, Penhall. And his telephone number is, what is his phone number? Sure? You sure? 665-4804.
4804.
Anybody with a question of difficulty as to getting appeals or not getting the $4 back, phone Mr. Penhall. Make him earn his money, which he does, I'm sure, but he should handle these calls at, give me that again, Linda, 665-4804. And I think that's dreadful that they're going to keep you $4.
Well, not only us, but think of the thousands of other people that exchange vehicles and are due out of anything under $5.
Do they charge you if it's less than $5?
You better believe it, and that money better be there right now.
No, but I mean, if the difference is the other way, will they not charge you under $5? Oh, sure they will.
Well, sure,
Where are you speaking from, by the way?
they expect any money
Which
owing
town?
to them, but they don't refund the money that's owing to the public.
Which town are you from?
I'm from Penticton.
How's the weather this morning?
It's kind of overcast and cold looking.
Fair enough. Go buy a ranchette. That'll keep you busy. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Are the letters ready yet? After the break. No, Dennis. Not. He's a public. That's the correspondence I read over the weekend. Many of the letters are so illegibly written that it's almost impossible. But every now and again I get some good letters that I like to show you. Don't show enough of them. There was one letter I got on the art gallery that I want you to see. It comes from Mr. Ayn, A-Y-N-E, in Victoria, and it says, "You capitalist bootlicker, I've been listening to your broadcast talking about taking the art gallery to court. It is about time you considered the culture of the majority of the working class. I refer to the beer parlor culture. We know nothing about art. We were too busy trying to survive looking for work, manning the picket lines to preserve our standard of living or possibly to improve it. Let me, says Mr. Ayn, describe a day in the cultural life of the working class. 9 a.m. The doors of the beer parlor opens. By 9:15, there are a dozen people in the place. Some of them war veterans, others old age pensioners. By 10, the unemployed workers are coming after attending the manpower looking for work. Not a word about art, and no sign of any bankers or merchants or even any academics. At 12 noon, the workers who are fortunate enough to have work are coming in with their brown bag lunches. These are useful people. Carpenters, electricians, plumbers, laborers. The conversation is about work, layoffs, strikes, no mention of art. Maybe you could arrange to have a program about workers and the beer parlor culture. Yours truly, J. Ain in Victoria. I like that man, because it just, brings me down a peg or two when I'm on about this, taking the art gallery to court. Really, who cares? I do, because I don't want to see public money wasted. That's what concerns me about. Once you let these boys with their architects into public buildings and they talk about $16.1 million, finish up with $60.1 million if we don't keep an eye on them. The next one is about the Muckamuck. Remember the piece I did in the Muckamuck? I wanted to use this letter. Your unabashed support for union busting paralyzed me for about an hour. It took me, he says, 20 years to join the National Farmers Union. You appear to have taken about the same amount of time in the trough to join the other side. Nat Girvan made the most telling statement that you probably missed because you were so busy interrupting him and praising Flo. He said, it's the old game, get the Indians fighting Indians, divide and conquer. That was the case where this incredible picketing of this unique Indian restaurant in the west end of Vancouver just about ruined the place. And I felt the Indians were being used by Sorwalk. Glad to tell you that there is a possibility, I hope still, of a contract being arranged between that union, thanks to my union busting, at least in some small measure. Back to the art gallery again. Is it coming? I'm not quite good at all. The very idea of tearing the innards out of that beautiful work of art is repugnant and silly. Remove one form of art for another form of art. Wasteful. We had a wonderful museum here in Prince George in form of an old-style fort. Due to council niggardliness, the driveway to the museum was not ploughed in winter, wrongly spelled. As a result, when the building burned, no one could get near it to put the fire out. Foresight for you. Antiques in a dreary pile of concrete and glass we have now are just as out of place as those escalators in that rotunda. Whose bright idea was that? Unrelated point. Use the courthouse for conducting trials and attending to court business. Art lover, Prince George. P.S. I love your show, though it does strange things to my blood pressure now and again. Now, little story. I've done a couple of programs, one major program on Moonies. The other day I came in, and here's some Moonie minister from Toronto. I think he flew in specially to see the program, to see what that traitor Webster was saying about the Moonies. I'll have them back again on the program, the Moonies, the Moonie ministers. We had a little contretemps about whether Moonies were a cult or a religion. My opinion, of course, they're a cult and not a religion. However, I want to show you this letter I got recently. It says, I was on a BC ferry a short time ago and found a Moonie girl soliciting for money among the passengers. I asked her for her affiliation, was told, just a missionary. She offered me a pamphlet, so I said, well, I'll read it and decide about you before I denote anything. It was a pamphlet with the Moonie name on the bottom. She solicited all the way across and was collecting money, selling nothing. Jack, the Moonies are here and are active. I sincerely hope that your program will alert people to the insidiousness of this cult. That's from Nanaimo. That's the Unification Church, they call it. And we shall have a spokesman from Toronto for the Moonies on, I think, on January the 7th, 1980. And we shall have a good direct interview with them, and we shall throw at them the allegations made by the parents of Moonies who have disappeared into some strange maw in the United States. Funny people, I'll tell you that. And then, for the benefit of somebody who was most upset about one thing that happened on my program, I want you to read this letter. It's from the Reverend Hugh MacLeod in Victoria. I write to make one thing straight for the record. One of your guests erred in saying that Ontario sent nothing to the Western needy in the great drought of the early 30s. Ontario people were lavish in their generosity in the many carloads of food and other necessities they sent to the prairies, especially South Saskatchewan. I was a minister, says Mr. MacLeod, in the region at the time. The United Church had a very large part in such largesse and will be gratefully remembered by very many. That was when there was a fair bit of Eastern and Western complaining on the program, but now Ontario is having power troubles and unemployment, and somebody had said that Ontario did nothing for the West and the West should now do nothing for Ontario. Back to the telephones after this break.
Of you.
Jack, better.
I'll go from 8 to 1. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Jack.
Morning, sir.
About prices again. I'm very amazed at the antifreeze price. Last year I bought it for $4.88. Now you can go to a garage and it ranges from $8 to $10. And at other shops like Safeways and that, it is $6.88. I bought a pair of trousers at Sears on sale, mind you, for $26. The same pair of trousers when I walked up Hastings Street 2 days after buying them at Sears was not on sale, and they were $23.50. Why isn't there a price control in this country? Is it because the politicians are gutless and they want to lose their votes from their potential constituency, the guys that are backing them when they...
I did a very heavy survey a couple of weeks ago in which we had 8 or 9 experts on the whole thing. In the final analysis, the best experts in that program said that wage and price control must come before inflation kills us. But you can bet your bottom dollar that after the last somewhat pathetic effort of wage and price control, that it won't come back in that form. It will only come back in the real crush. I'm still baffled by the fact that the BC Telephone Company made $25 million extra and was ordered to pay back the pittance of $7 million. Yes. And the other surplus of $18 million apparently goes in to meet the inflated revenue or operating costs for the current year. That's the kind of price control one is entitled to be worried about. I don't know where it will all end. If there's another increase in the bank rate in this country, the Lord help us all. But to look at these individual prices and expect some czar to step in and say freeze them, no. That won't work under our system. If wage and price controls come, they will have to come wage, prices, and profits. And that effect means a socialist takeover of the state and bureaucratic socialism, not communist socialism, bureaucratic socialism. So you won't see that happen. I think we're just going to have to learn to suffer a bit more and perhaps, I hate to say it, do without. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm just phoning about that $5 for the ICBC.
Yes.
And I'm confirming that that's a true statement and that's all over BC. And it doesn't matter that you have to charge, they charge you the $5 and you have to pay it right away. And if it's $4.95, they don't pay you. And I just want.
If it's $4.95, do they bill you?
No. That they won't give you the money back of $4.95.
This happened to you?
Yes, sir.
On a license plate exchange?
Yes, sir.
Well, the back of my hand to them. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Mr. Webster.
Yes.
I've been trying to get some help through the Department of Human Resources. I reported a child abuse on November the 4th. To date, they have not started any investigation and have not even yet contacted the mother.
Are you a witness to the child abuse?
Yes, I am. I have the little girl living with me at the moment.
You've seen the child being beaten, have you?
Not physically beaten, but very emotionally abused. She's terrified of her mother.
Her mother has other problems that I don't want to hear about.
Right, and we...
All right, have you put your name to the complaint?
Yes, I have been down and been interviewed by the Department of Human Resources, who apparently are the only ones who can give us even a temporary guardianship.
Have you got the temporary guardianship?
No, I haven't, and even the school has suggested we keep the child at home because they would have to turn her over to her mother. We've been getting schoolwork sent home.
Are you in there for, in effect, hiding the child from her parents?
No, her mother knows where she is, but she hasn't attempted, other than once, to try and take her.
The mother is an alcoholic?
Yes, she is, and a relation.
How did you contact them in the first place, Human Resources? On the crisis line?
No, I went right down and got an appointment with the worker who's in charge of child abuse.
What's her explanation for the lack of action?
She believes that we should turn the child over to the mother, and they should not step in until it's too late. The child is very emotionally scarred at the
So
moment.
therefore it's your judgment against the Human Resources judgment.
Yes, and they won't help at all. They won't even investigate it. It's been over a week now, and they haven't even contacted the mother.
The child is of a tender age?
Yes, she's 6 years old. And this has been going on now since she was born.
That's a problem. Does the child want to go back to her mother?
No, she doesn't.
Do you have other children?
Yes, I have 3 children of my own.
And you're keeping the child for the moment. The mother's made one tentative approach, but otherwise doesn't seem to care.
She definitely wants her back. She won't sign over a voluntary temporary guardianship. She believes that all her problems will be solved the minute she gets her daughter back and they can live on their own.
Have you seen the supervisor in the Human Resources office?
No, I've been told to go to her. I've talked to our crisis center and family services organization, and they say the only one that has any power is Human Resources. And
What does the crisis center suggest? Nothing?
just to go to the Human Resources. I've been told
What would happen if you gave the child back to the mother?
she would have no one to go to for when her mother is drunk, and she has been fallen on, and just, I don't know if I can even go
Are
into
you
it.
telling me the truth?
Pardon me?
Are you telling me the truth?
Yes, I am, sir. Very
Are you
definitely.
living-
The child also has a physical disability.
Is your unit, do you have a husband?
Yes, I do. He's
Is-
very much in favor of.
He approves of your action.
Yes, yes, definitely. Also, the mother's parents.
All right, well, if you'll give your telephone number to Linda, tomorrow morning, I suppose they're all closed today.
Yes, they are.
Tomorrow morning, we'll phone the supervisor of Human Resources and ask them why they don't take action and what they're going to do.
Okay, I also have a letter I was writing to you, as a matter of fact.
Don't write the letter. Hold on, and Linda will take the details, and I'll get somebody to
Thanks very
follow
much.
it up. Yeah. Difficult things, these, for me to do. I've got to take somebody else's judgment. However, the very fact that will phone Human Resources and say, if this woman, just before you say anything else, if this woman is right, and that child comes to harm at some later date, because for a proper inquiry, so we'll phone Human Resources and say, hey, give the woman some decent answer, or take the child away. Because the woman can't keep somebody else's child without the proper authority. It's liable to lead to confrontation and more trouble for the child. You got that, Linda? Go ahead, please.
Hello. I want to talk about SAFER and the...
About what?
SAFER, the rental allowance we get from the government. Because if we get more money from Ottawa, Victoria immediately deducts it from our income we get provincially.
The moment you get an increase in any of your federal guaranteed income supplement or your old age pension, that comes off your SAFER allowance.
Yes, it does. And
policy of the Social Credit Government is to give you nothing over their basic guidelines.
well, yes, they just say we have more increment. So as much as they raise it in Ottawa, they take it out in Victoria.
That's true, but you must give Victoria credit at least for having the SAFER program in the first place.
Yes, except I know people who've been cut from $50 to $5.
What have you been cut from?
I've been cut from 75 to 48, but I did move into a more reasonable place. I'm paying 179 or 180 now. But my SAFER's been cut from 75, which I received when I paid 200.
All you've got, I don't mean to put you down at all. You have a political problem with the administration of public finances, and the general social credit policy is where more money comes into the family unit from Ottawa, chop, the provincial allowance.
Do that, should they?
You'd think not, with the inflated revenues they have in Victoria when they're boasting about balancing their budget and having no debt. They could afford to show a bit of generosity to those at the lower end of the scale. But social credit is traditionally blinded by balancing the books regardless of the cost. It seems we never get a happy medium between the ebullience of the levies of the world and the parsimony, the niggardliness of who is the Minister of Human Resources now?
You know, Grace McCarthy.
Oh, I'm sure she hates the job. Thanks for letting me know anyway.
By the way, just one sec.
Yeah.
A friend asked me if I'd ask you about this tooth thing. It's just that she went to a dentist. He did the wrong thing, charged her $800. She wanted 2 teeth on a bridge at the back. She paid him $300, and she won't give him any more money because he didn't give her the 2 teeth at the back. He kept some of her...
Ma'am, she better protect herself against a lawsuit if she has a valid complaint by writing a registered letter to the College of Physicians and Surgeons complaining about the dentist's actions. Unless you complain to the college, you have no valid defense against a lawsuit to make you kick in the money after the break.
People.
Decided to come back. Kind of nice to do the phones. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Jack. I was interested in these two people that got ripped off by the government insurance office. But I have a complaint which is much greater.
What's that?
Regarding the homeowner's grant and the rental allowance by the government to people who are renting.
Well, you're talking about safer, and we were talking about that a minute ago, and these are political decisions made by social credit. The way your other allowances are increased by Ottawa, they chop safer. It's quite simple.
Well, no, this is more, let me explain.
No, you might take all day to explain, sir.
You are a property owner and you got $200 more credit on your taxes this year, didn't you?
Why?
I am a renter and I earn more than $15,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
I get no increase in my rental allowance. And there must be thousands of people in the same position.
What rental allowance if you earn $15,000 a year?
Well, this year you would get $100 if your income is less than $10,000.
Yeah, like the Clark government, the Bennett government is more aiming towards property owners than to individuals.
Well,
the whole Clark mortgage scheme goes towards property owners, not to renters.
Is that reasonable and fair, do you think?
No, I don't suppose it is, but that's the way free enterprise government look at these things. 100 Mile House, good morning.
Good morning.
That's not Lord Martin Cecil, is it?
No, it's not.
Oh, I thought it might be.
No. I just like to talk about this art gallery. I think it's an abuse of our taxpayers' money, and professional sport has to pay its own way, so why not art? And these rich snobs can afford to pay for their own art gallery anyways, and I think the government should spend our money on recreation for the poor and not for the rich snobs. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Don't go away.
Okay.
I like your cold-blooded attitude. I, of course, am kind of brainwashed by being around these people into thinking that we must give this and that and the next thing to culture and whatnot, and a civilized society must have its subsidies for the symphony and for the art gallery and whatnot. And I'll swallow a little piece of that. But I'm with you. In times of restraint, let's make sure that they get the minimum possible of public funds to maintain their art gallery aspirations.
Thanks, and I'd just like to say there's a lot of people that agree with me, too, up here.
I'll bet there is.
Okay.
Especially in 100 Mile House.
Pardon?
Especially in 100 Mile House.
100 Mile House.
I saw that, was reading the stories in the paper about Lord Martin Cecil and the fantastic estates in England.
Mm-hmm.
Were you reading them?
Yes, I was.
How's he keeping the old boy?
Oh, pretty good. I think he travels a lot. He's got some...
all over the place. If you see him, tell him I was asking for.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Doesn't know me from a hole in the ground. I'm a great name dropper. See, I can go home and say to Mark when I go home, told Lord Martin Cecil today if anybody bumped into him that I was dropping for him. Same applies to the Queen. If you see the Queen, that's what I was asking for. Must be getting close to 10:30 on a holiday Monday. Go ahead, please.
Yes, in regard to the Dirty Tricks affair, I was wondering if Premier Bennett, his government should resign in shame, or if there's any way of nullifying the election.
Now, that's been a bit stupid. That's a bit stupid. I mean, why would he resign? Why would anybody resign? Why would they resign? There's only one way the government under our system can be defeated, and that's on the floor of the House in a confidence motion.
I see.
Then they must resign.
I guess that's why the Premier Bennett's moving to Victoria from Kelowna, so he doesn't get defeated in a non-confidence motion.
Oh, no, that's a cheap shot. There was an item in Marjorie Nichols' column, I think it was, saying that he was house hunting in Victoria.
Yeah.
But it's only a 25-minute jet ride from Kelowna to Vancouver to Victoria to meet a vote. Nothing to it. But get that clear in your mind. A British-type government such as we have is an effective dictatorship under a strong premier until it is defeated on the floor of the House. And nobody ain't going to resign over dirty tricks. Much obliged. After the break. I would like you to put a camera on Suzanne this morning to show the welfare cases that wander into the programs. I'll say, now here's the case I have to deal with.
30 seconds.
Freddie.
What?
Is there any more coffee filters in the room, Victor?
Yes, there is. There's some back. Oh my God, how am I going to do this, Linda?
Can I go up here?
Yes, I'll clip it there.
Hi, Peter.
No, come on.
Hi, Peter.
Come and sit in my knee for the last shot.
I'm going.
You got a good shot of that?
I'm
See
going.
me?
I'm going to work with Lori La Poo Poo.
Well, it takes one to know one.
Webster Company. Mr. Dean, okay, we will.
Come on, smile. Stick out your chest if you can. This is Buchanan. Well, that was quite a story we started off with this morning.
Very tragic.
That's the first episode, first chapter. Right, tomorrow?
Ron Atke, Immigration Minister.
That'll be good. He's the guy who made Clark give the promise to move the embassy to Jerusalem and Golden.
Yes.
That's a good start for tomorrow morning. And the boat people and the sponsored and nominated relatives. Ron Atke, Federal Minister of Immigration, tomorrow at 9 a.m. precisely.